Joining us now is Shelley Mayer, Democratic New York State Senator and Chair of the Committee on Education. Welcome and good morning. How are you?
Good morning, Laura. Thank you so much for having me. I'm very well.
I'm very glad that you're here with us today. Thank you for taking the time. There is a lot going on this week for a variety of reasons, and not the least of which is a bit of an anniversary coming up this Saturday, the anniversary of the Dobbs decision being decided in the United States Supreme Court, which overturned Roe v. Wade. There has been some legislative activity in your state of New York. What's been going on?
Well, actually, really very good news. First, I'm in the state Senate, and the state Senate passed in January a bill based in large part on a bill that passed in Massachusetts that protects healthcare practitioners who are licensed to practice medicine in New York State to be able to provide abortion telehealth services. So provide telehealth that gives rise to medication abortion to women in other states. And then our bill would allow these providers to send the medication directly to the women in those other states. This week, the bill passed the Assembly as well, and we're very hopeful that Governor Hochul will sign it, hopefully on I hate to call it an anniversary because that's a happy occasion.
I know, you're
on
right.
The date that Dobbs was released, which would be on Saturday. But this is a game changer for women in these red states who truly are having trouble accessing even medication abortion, which is the preferred method of abortion for so many women.
When you look at the medication abortion, and this is obviously via telehealth in particular, are you looking to, obviously it's the state level, are you looking to Congress to do more, or is this something that the states really are remaining on the front lines and are having to do it themselves without the even optimistic promise of Congress being able to act?
Well, we would love to see Congress act, but unfortunately, this Congress with a Republican majority is not going to act. And the Supreme Court said in Dobbs, it's up to the states. Well, New York is fighting back, along with other states. These shield laws, as they're called, are being enacted in states to protect either women in their state and, in our case, women in other states. You think, Laura, about a woman who is in South Carolina or Tennessee or another state who finds out they're pregnant, doesn't have the money to physically go to a state where abortion is authorized. Through what we are enacting in New York, they can have a telehealth visit with a licensed New York provider who provides guidance and then sends the pills directly to them, and they can get them quickly, which is safer and better for them in terminating their pregnancy if they choose to. This is all about the choice of those women as well, and New York is going to take the lead in fighting back.
You mentioned there are other states that have been dealing with this issue, and really every state dealing with the issue ever since the overturning of the almost 50-year landmark decision in Roe v. Wade. You've got 20 states enacting some form of a ban, 14 states enacting a full ban, 9 of which have no exceptions for rape or incest. You've got Georgia banning after 6 weeks before many people even know they're pregnant. Nebraska banning after 12 weeks. 4 additional states banning after 15 to 20 weeks of pregnancy. And of course, Florida also having one of the more restrictive ones that Governor DeSantis has touted. You've got also, but is there coordination between the different state legislative bodies on efforts to try to deal with this issue? I know it's a state by state issue, but is it truly individual, or is there some coordination?
Well, there is some coordination. Last week, I was very privileged to join the White House's convening on by state legislators on what they're doing to fight back. And I was among a group from blue states that are talking about what a number of states, and there's lots to be done. And in New York State, under the leadership of our legislative leaders and Governor Hochul, we've already taken lots of steps after Dobbs. But these new kinds of bills that we just passed here and hope to be signed, yes, we are discussing with other states and sharing information. And, of course, there's a network of doctors and providers who are morally driven to make sure that we are not putting women at risk. And they have been some of the drivers of these legislative efforts. And in New York, we're very privileged to have quite a few of them and they are ready to get going as soon as the governor signs the bill.
Let's talk about mifepristone because you had the ruling by Judge Kaczmarek out of Texas that invalidated 20 plus years of the FDA's approval of a key drug used in safe medication abortions. Now, of course, the Supreme Court has granted a full stay pending the outcome of the Fifth Circuit's decision. But the notion that the FDA approval would come under attack by a member of the judiciary, not a member of the agency itself or even the medical community, was stunning to a lot of people as perhaps an unanticipated consequence of the overturning of Roe v. Wade. When you look at the polling, though, with respect to abortion, there is a disconnect between what the polls suggest in terms of the support for a woman's right to an abortion and what's happening at the legislative and, of course, the judicial level. What are your constituents saying to you about this disconnect?
Well, I'm glad you asked, Laura, because I've had nothing but the most positive response from my constituents about being the sponsor of this bill, about being part of a democratically led legislature in New York and the Democratic governor that has been able to move forward. I got such lovely emails yesterday because a number of unions that some of my constituents belong to, who are not in this space, as you would say, have sent out notices to their members about how important this bill is and that New York is standing up. So on balance, you're always going to have those who feel strongly personally about abortion, and of course I respect them. This is about choice for women who either choose to or need to end their pregnancies. Let's not leave those folks out as well. So I have had really such remarkably positive feedback to this bill, which is a big bill. It's an important bill, and again, it builds off what was done in Massachusetts. It's now being looked carefully at in California. I am very confident that other states like New York will begin to do this because doctors are not going to stand by and legislators and allow our sisters in other states simply because they live in a state which has one of these very right-wing legislatures to basically take away their rights. And the Supreme Court said in Dobbs, it's up to the states. And so now we are going to take charge and do it in a constitutional way. We're very confident about the constitutionality of our bill.
And speaking of the doctors, part of the bill prohibits professional and disciplinary action for any New York healthcare provider for engaging in legally protected health activity, which, of course, this bill defines that to include reproductive health care provided via telehealth, regardless of where the patient actually lives. So long as the practitioner is operating within the scope of their own practice. That's a very consequential aspect of it because there's been the concern of a chilling effect on medical practitioners and providers to try to render the services that are requested of them. Thank you for joining the show today, Senator Shelley B. Mayer. I appreciate your time.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.
Thank you.